Peace and blessings, family. This is your boy, Gerald. It is the 30th of January, 2018. We are on the backside of this month, getting ready to step into a new month, a new opportunity, a new chapter. And now, more importantly, it is very important, family, that you claim your life. You got to bear with me, family. I'm multitasking, putting on my because I have to start my day. And I don't want to be winded, even though I know I always say that, but I'm going to be short and sweet on this one. You know, with everything that's going on in our society, socially, with the polarization of emotions, the one thing that I've come to understand in our society, in our community, in a town near you, in a city near you, in a state near you, is the fact that there is two type of people in this world. Two. And when it comes to your life, your journey, ultimately your legacy, it is defining and understanding which one you are. For some, this can be a stark reality because they realize that their perceptions, their ideologies, and beliefs were based off of things that were influential in their lives, but may have had a significant influence in their direction. And I say that with compassion because, we all go through peaks and valleys when it comes to our lives. And that's what makes our lives precious. That's what makes our lives unique. And that is also what is the main reason we should not only guard our lives, but see the precious aspects of what defines it. But the one thing that I've realized in my development, and I realized this long, long time ago in my late teens, early 20s. And part of it has always been due to my nature because I've always been a very optimistic person to the point I've had people say, Gerald, that's unreal and you're just being a dreamer. I didn't want to believe that. But the one thing that I knew that I would not surrender was my heart. Because I knew my heart was connected to my emotional self. And my emotional self was a direct reflection of my spirit. I don't know if I should just throw a disclaimer out there because I got to reach the intended heart, intended mind at the lowest level that they're at. And I understand that some things may come off a little brash. I also understand that there may be some that may have the mindset of, I ain't trying to hear that, Gerald, because the reality is I've got this going on, and what you're saying cannot support me. At the end of the day, it is about free will, the right to choose. Should I go left? Should I go right? Should I ground my feet? Or more importantly, should I go within? But everything goes full circle, fam. Don't you realize that? Look at everything that has been revealed to you. Look at it. Look at, if anything, where you were 6 months ago. Or do you want better? Think back to where you were 3 years ago. Does it show progression to where you are today, or does it show consistency? What about stagnant? Because anything that is stagnant is blocked, and anything that's blocked will only bring death. Because underneath it all, there is a root cause. The choice is, will we have the courage to acknowledge it? Doesn't mean to conquer or champion the event, because there's still the ties that bind to keep you remaining there. Family, give me 1 second, because you know I have my coffee. My coffee is done. Give me 30 seconds. Got my coffee. And I got my message. 2018 has been very disappointing. And I say that in a general sense because some people understand it and some people don't. And it seems like the things that shouldn't matter most have taken a back seat. And I don't understand why. But I'll go into that in a second. Because the gist of this video is this. There are two types of people that live on this planet right here. You have those, no matter how intelligent they are, that will be enslaved by their pride. They will do nothing but enjoy hearing themselves complain. They're the first ones that will run into the conflict, then stand their ground, assess, and critically think. These people will never take accountability for what makes their reality today. It's always that person. It's always because of what that happened. It's always a symptom to the problem. It's always reactionary, but you can't find no proactiveness. And then there are those that come to that place emotionally and then they ponder, they think. And whatever the outcome is, they go back and look at what was the action, not the reaction. Because that's the problem with 2018. 2018 is all about reactionary position, but no solution. And anything that is reactionary with no solution equals a distraction. And there's a lot of people that are going to be deceived. And they don't even realize it because as long as you keep that mindset, there are going to be people behind the scenes that are going to benefit from your distraction. But I'll do one better. I remember my parents, people along the way that would inspire me, and they would always have the same sentiment. And one way or another, they would always say, stop worrying about what's outside your door and focus on what you need to do. And, uh, and I know that what they was trying to do was for me to focus on the matter at hand. But because of maturity, a lot of those words fell on deaf ears. One ear out the other, only to walk right into the problem. And that still goes on today, family, because the fact that the people that we should seek wisdom from, we don't have time anymore. Our attention spans have been cut in half, if was even existed to begin with. And we're wondering why our homes, a lot of them are emotionally barren. A lot of them, there's no love to be found. So, what are we teaching our children if we are the first example of the teacher? But yet, not taking note that one day, the things that we do not show through our behavior first is going to be the example that is going to be passed through hereditary examples. In other words, for those who were to protect you, whatever they didn't teach you, life is going to show you. But even if that is the case, you woke up today, didn't you? Then guess what? There's still work. There's still something that you need to embrace. If not, there are those that will become what we know as compulsionary victims. So, as I mentioned before, how can you take a position when you don't know you? And that is, I believe, the biggest farce or joke that's running around through society today, because there's a lot of followers out there, family. There's a lot of followers. You see it, you hear it. But you know what you hear underneath of that? Rhetoric that's being passed, that's being spoon fed by some. like as if it was an emotional umbilical cord directly to the intended ear. It's a lot of anger there. But guess what? There's a lot of non accountability too. So, why is it you can find comfort in numbers, but you can't find yourself? Who am I talking to? I'll bring it. I'll bring it back. If the people that you commune with, the people that you find refuge with, people you break bread with, if they're not showing you or inspiring you to be the best you, why are you there? If there's nothing but negativity and drama in an environment, you have a choice not to invest in that. But what if the drama and the byproduct of that environment, the common denominator is the person in the mirror looking back? Can't you see it? Or the question should be is why you choose to overlook. Because there are many people that have a love affair with their denial. The loyalty is found in their pain, their disappointment. That's all they know. So if they're put in and if there's let me get these soup coolers right. So let's flip it. So if someone comes into your life that is not of that environment, that genuinely cares about you, that tells you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, why do you ostracize that? Why do you run from that? When little do you know that could be your blessing or your breakthrough right in front of you. That's why there's so many people today, unfortunately, and they won't tell you. They live their life in the rearview mirror. Back down memory lane. Why? Don't you realize if that was your reality, that would be your reality. But what ends up happening? Temptation, lust, the big question mark. Instead of seeing the evidence that was presented. Yes, people change all the time. But an opportunist does not need your help to expose themselves. Who am I talking to? What is required is for you to have the courage to see and accept what is being presented or offered for your time. But you won't see people protesting about feeling emotionally safe. You won't see people arm in arm locked up talking about, hey, my child deserves a future. We need to restructure our education and make sure that what is being taught is factual. Oh, yeah. Because a lot of the things that are being presented for our children is not to prepare them to be entrepreneurs, it's to prepare them to be indoctrinated in the workforce. So who's that benefit? Not you. It benefits the person that owns the company. And they know that. They know that. That's why one of the greatest blessings God has always bestowed to man. And I don't know why he is so patient than he has been. Because at any moment he could just we cease to exist. But we are his children. And I think with all this climate change and anomalies with the world, that's a message to man to humble himself, for her to see her love of who she is and not exploit what she's about. But this ain't nothing new because this is the same social climate that's been popping off since the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, now 2018. Now, I don't want to be rude. I'm going to step away from this camera for a second. But before I do, I want you to put this in your mind. With all the technology that we have in the world, why is it that we have yet to stop the drug epidemic? We have a satellite that can read a license plate, but we can't find and stop the distribution found in the world. I think we can, but they choose not to. Please give me a second. So this video is about two different people, and you got to ask yourself which one are which one are you? Give me a second. All right, y'all. Thank you for your patience with me here. It's snowing. It is snowing right now. This is our round 3. We got a 1 week reprieve, and I hope that they learned first 2 times the snow came through. It's actually snowing now. Just like quick as started. Nothing. But I've come to learn that there are far too many people looking for the distraction and the reaction instead of investing in themselves. And stay vigilant on me. But the one thing that I emphatically refuse to do is not love myself. And I know I always speak on that, but I really believe that most people that say they have courage are saying that to convince themselves, but they're not doing the work. That's why there would not be so much chaos going on in our societies. It takes more energy to be yourself than to imitate someone else. And I really believe that even now, what's going on right now, family? What's going on? It's tax season. You realize how many people already been struggling the last 365. They're going to get their returns. Instead of putting money to clear some bills, which will save money on those interest rates, they're going to blow that. They're going to blow it for a temporary distraction. And at the end of the day, that's your choice. That's your choice. That is what's needed for the economy. Big business knows this. Investors know this. They would prefer that you don't do what you need to do so that they can continue to make more money off of you, because they know that you're going to be impulsive. They know that you're not going to have the discipline. Right. Don't believe me? Watch February. We're going to get through Valentine's Day. About mid-February, the returns are going to run like water, and you're going to see a spike in the economy. And there are going to be a lot of people that are going to take credit for that. But at the end of the day, it still falls down to the individual making the choice. There are 2 types of people. Those who are going to do something, or someone who's going to react to something done. Now let's go back to the emotional side of the game. Because let's call it for what it is. There's a lot of people that are treating their lives like it's a game, allowing precious tears to fall and feel frustration indirectly that probably wasn't dealt by you. You do realize, for those that are in relationships right now, if you want your relationship to remain in balance, you have to make a decision to be transparent. Then it is about truth. It is about what you stand for, your character. Because the more that you invest in your character, the more you redefine your moral compass. And I know right now, it seems like there are a lot of people running around, they ain't got no sense. Every time you turn around, you look on your local news, there's somebody's mom crying, there's somebody's father weeping, there's somebody being claimed or directed where they should not be. And the one thing that I've noticed even more so, I know here and I know there where you're at, our children are not prepared for life. It seems like more and more childhood disagreements ending up in a shooting incident. I know I'm not the only one, but no one is taking stock of this. That son, that daughter, because of that choice, that was somebody's future mother or future father or future grandmother or future grandfather that will not come to be. One thing that I heard through my adolescence. First time I heard it, I think I was like maybe 14 years old. And it was, no parent should have to bury their child. So that in itself is an imbalance, because you should be preparing your children by you preparing yourself for the road that they're going to travel on. How about the people that you're not even going to know that are hereditarily connected to you, part of your lineage? Well, we don't think about that now, do we? We get caught up in what's going on right now. And we wonder why so many people are living their lives in the rear view than looking forward, but also taking note of what their foundation represents today. But we don't talk about that. Now, why? Why don't we have the same energy of all this negativity being promoted? Now, keep in mind when I say promote, because the one thing that I've realized about forms of communication, they have a lot of control. And the one thing that they're not going to do is allow something to be put out without them knowing. So what is the image constantly being promoted? It's fear. And what is the fastest market that is reaping a benefit? Security. I heard on the radio, yes, I still listen to the radio. I actually, when I go to work, I listen to talk radio. And I make a point to listen to the various radio stations to get insight of what the dynamic is being discussed. That's what critical thinking is, because your opinion may not be based off of factual information. So it's always good to see both sides of the parameter. That's what communication is about, isn't it? Entitled to an opinion. You don't have to agree with it, but you do have to honor what is being conveyed and what you take from it and how that has influence in your choices. But why do we not have people that have the same zeal, same momentum, motivation, that just want to live, just want to be happy? Why aren't they coming together? Why aren't they setting the example? Because they know that the narrative is, what's the point? That's why it seems like positivity has taken a back seat, but it hasn't. It hasn't, and it won't. And I firmly believe, family, that one day, if it has not occurred, clarity is going to come, and you're going to have to make a sound decision on the direction of your life. May it be because of where your financial standings is, where your physical standing is regarding your health, or your spiritual foundation. You do understand, family, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't expect society to do that for you. That's why it's imperative to love yourself. But there's this false narrative out there to convince you that if you want anything, you got to go out there and get it. You realize how many people do that, but they're not putting any thought behind it? So where are you going? That's like getting in your vehicle with a full tank of gas, just driving around aimlessly to accomplish. Why don't we see that? Because the people that know full well that you're not, they're not going to say nothing. They're going to continue to make money. They like your impulsiveness. They like the fact that you want to stay broken. They enjoy that because as long as you stay that way, you're not a threat. They're not going to turn around and tell you, hey, you know what? If you decide to change up your eating diet, your eating habits, you won't be connected to those pharmaceutical pills that you're taking, because that means you're taking care of you. Or better yet, if you decide to take accountability for the choices you have made, you'll actually see the correlation of the people that are connected to your life. Of course, I'm not going to tell you that. It benefits them. Always have, always will. But this is not a pass, and it shouldn't be. If you're in a position where there's discomfort, why won't you acknowledge what makes you uncomfortable? It takes ownership to grow your life, to claim it, to cultivate it. But most people, they'll just give you excuses. I would do this, but you know, it's the system. I would have done that if it wasn't for them. What you doing? They telling you when to breathe and how high to jump? Or are you just putting another emotional band-aid? Get off of that. Tyson over there is killing. At the end of the day, you're not getting any younger. And that's where the blessing really comes too, because every day should be a day that you learn something new. And that's what separates those who have compared to those who don't. They made a decision and they committed to it. I would be remiss to say this. You got to take that judgment out your heart. Stop. Lay down. Lay down. You got to take it out your heart. Replace it with courage to do what's needed. Yeah, the price tag on that is you're going to cut some of the people out of your life that shouldn't have been there to begin with. I know somebody that may terrify you because you may be married to somebody like, well, I got to wait because I'll lose all this. But ain't no love there. You know it. So who's the hostage? Who's holding themselves emotionally for ransom? You realize how many people do that? Well, I'll just put up with it because, from the outside, I got everything I want. But you feel empty and it's not what you need. That's emotional Stockholm syndrome, family. So you got to decide. And really, when you think about it, why are you complaining? Because those people that are complaining refuse to make a choice. They know that. If you were to sit down and have a heart to heart with every individual that had a complaint, and say, hey, look, you feel this way because of what? And what were the contributing factors to that? But a lot of those people are terrified that that'll be discovered because then they'll realize that everything that they've come to know was a lie. And what did God say? Those who are last will be made first. And those who are made first will be made last. So if you're putting a price tag on what you look like in the mirror today, just know it doesn't matter when you're sick. It doesn't matter where you lay your head. And it doesn't matter who you know, especially when you don't know you. But the world's going to continue to turn. And until you decide to put your foot down, take stock on what makes you, you have no right to complain anymore. Because you know what you're missing? You're not discerning. And maybe that's the reason deep down inside you yearn for something else. Maybe that's the reason why the poem Birds of a Feather Flock Together. For what You never hear about where the flock was going, what made them fly to begin with. It's too real to accept. I don't know. I love myself too much, family. And I'm not, and here's the thing, I'm about to bring this home. Racists are not born, they're taught. And the number one tool to racism is fear. The other is knowledge of self. And most of these people that look just like you and don't look like you don't know who they are. So who's on the hamster wheel? And who is really playing themselves and don't even realize it? You better claim yourself. Because if you don't, society is going to play you. God's praying for you. You know I am. Man, another snowy day. God's praying for you. You know I am. I see your worth. And for that, it helps me discern mine. And you wonder why so many people are miserable today. They miserable. It's because they forgot who they are and they refuse to claim it back. That's the tragedy. So which one are you? Be blessed.